What about transcendence then?
I think Hegel is a critic of transcendence.
Yeah,
I think for Hegel, so where does transcendence come in? At a certain point in the logic of being, Hegel thinks that being, to be, proves to involve being finite.
Yeah.
And being finite then in turn involves being infinite in certain ways. Now, there are lots of different conceptions of infinity in the logic. There is qualitative infinity, there is quantitative infinity, and there's even infinity in something he calls measure, which is the unity of quality and quantity. In the section on qualitative infinity, there are, by my count, 5 different conceptions of infinity. And they're relatively easy to understand. The first is just endless finitude. If you just think of a series of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just carry on adding one, adding one. That goes on ad infinitum. It's a kind of infinity, but it really is just an endless series of finites. And time has that structure in one sense for Hegel. Then there is the continuity of being that runs through that endless series. So that would be infinity number 2. Then there's what he calls the bad infinite, das schlecht Unendliche, which is the infinite understood as beyond the finite, as other than the finite. And Hegel thinks that this is certainly a concept that we operate with. And there are features of nature as an interesting parallel that Hegel draws between light and the bad infinite, where light Hegel thinks of as the moment of infinity within nature. And it's part of nature, but it's also different from the objects it illuminates. And so it has something of the structure of a sort of a beyond, the source of light itself is sort of beyond the object it illuminates. But obviously the bad infinite plays an important role in, for example, the unhappy consciousness, in the phenomenology, and it underlies certain religious conceptions. Rightly or wrongly, Hegel associates Jehovah and Allah with the bad infinite, an infinity that is sort of beyond this world. Okay, the fourth conception of infinity is what he calls the progress to infinity, which is a little bit like the series of endless finites, only it's a sort of an endlessly deferred infinite. If you think, well, the infinite is just over the horizon, and you get there, it's just a bit further, and it's just a bit further, and and so it matches, I suppose, somewhat Derrida's idea of this endless deferral. And Hegel says, I mean, that also is something we encounter and experience. And then there's the true infinite. And the true infinite, it turns out for Hegel, is the process in which finite things relate to themselves in their other. This is a quality of being that's exhibited by finite things. It's infinite, or it is a form of infinity, because it's a form in which finite things don't run up against their limit, but they encounter themselves in what is other than them. Examples would be love, mutual recognition, friendship, also being citizens of a state. So whenever you're in the situation of being in a relation to somebody, and your own identity, as it were, extends to include that other who is also other and whose identity extends to include you, then that is an example for Hegel of qualitative infinity. So what's interesting is that Hegel thinks that qualitative infinity is a quality of being that can only be exhibited by finite things. So, and it's a quality that belongs to being finite. And so the paradoxical conclusion of Hegel's idea is that only if you die can you be infinite. If you don't die, you can't be infinite, because only finite things can exhibit das Unendliche. Now, of course, this makes no sense if you think that the infinite is beyond the finite. But Hegel thinks, no, infinity is a quality of being. Now, there are moments in Spinoza where Spinoza thinks of eternity also as a quality of thinking. It's thinking in a certain way, thinking in a way that's governed by adequate ideas rather than being bombarded by sensations. And then there's also the moment, and forgive me, but I can't give you chapter and verse, in John's Gospel, where the Gospel writer equates eternal life with ekenon, with the knowing of God. Yeah. And it's said that the one who knows has eternal life, not will have, not might have, has it. So the idea there is that eternal life, infinity, is a quality of being that we have. It's partly personal, in finding ourselves in a world that we don't take just to limit us, but it's also, and almost I say more prominently, social and interpersonal, intersubjective, because it's when we encounter other people, and Hegel thinks that other people can be infinitely more resistant to one another than nature can. There is a hardness, think of the hard heart in the phenomenology, between two subjects. They can be absolutely at odds with one another, but it's in the relationship to another person that human beings have their infinity. Is there transcendence in that? I would say no. I'm very much on the side of reading Hegel as a philosopher of immanence. I don't think there's any transcendence in Hegel. There are powers that are greater than we are. Let's say the state is greater than any given individual. Is there a transcendent deity for Hegel? No, I don't think there is. Does being transcend us? No, it doesn't. Objects are different from us, but we can find ourselves in them either by living with them, working with them, learning from them, or understanding them through science. But I should say, this is not the view that everybody has. There are people, Robert Williams would be one, for example, with whose views I'm very much in sympathy, who thinks there is an element of transcendence. So you need to be aware of the fact that other interpretations are available, as we would say. But that's my view. And that is a bit of a problem if you want to hang on to transcendence. I think it's got to go.